How's it kicking, my ninjas? This is Ijo Ujo here, and I'm back again, once again, with another RTG explaining the self-replenishment engine that is the quantum creatures, the critters or the monsters or whatever the hell you want to call them in the deck, and why exactly it is that you play them. So, let's dig right into that. Now, first and foremost, I'd like to say that the Super Quantum engine in the deck is slightly bricky. I mean, you're going to draw this card a lot more than you would like to. So, I always tell everybody disclaimers, and I always say play at your own risk or whatnot like that. But please, please, please know this. This is a bricky engine, and it does require you to get just a little bit lucky because you already have a 3-card engine in your deck, being the Brilliant engine. And that's bricky as well, and you're adding more, like, just dead weight to your deck in theory. But if that's the case, why in the hell, Ijo, are you playing this card? Why would you want this in your deck instead of just playing these two and have this be something else, or whatever like that? Well, I'm going to explain that. I'm going to explain myself here. So these 3 cards is what's known as a self-replenishment engine. Essentially, they all float into themselves an infinite number of times, right? You can't do it an infinite number of times in the same turn, blah, 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 but you can do this every turn. And you'll hear people say if you have 2 red layers, this guarantees you a rank 5 every turn. Wow. No, break that down for me. So, I'm going to do that. Basically, it all stems from the fact that this guy says whenever he is sent to the graveyard, doesn't matter how he got there, so if you detach him for like a Volcasaurus or whatnot like that, his effect will trigger because it's sent to the graveyard. It's a lot like Dandelion, or I can't really think of other ones right now, but they reworded cards like this specifically to work with Xyz monsters. Instead of saying field to the grave, it's just sent to the grave. So this guy will trigger, allowing you to add a Super Quant card from your graveyard back to your hand. Or no, this one allows you to special summon it. Sorry, I lied about that. I don't want to lie to you guys. I feel like we're building a bond here together. But with that aside, it allows you to special summon a Super Quant monster from your graveyard. Now, that effect is very relevant if you play Blue Layer. If you don't, whenever you summon this guy, you can float one back from the graveyard to your hand. And that one doesn't care who it is. It doesn't care if it's red layer or whatnot like that, which that's really powerful. You actually just get a free, you get like a +1 off of that, especially like it's just like a Stratos but from the graveyard. Now that does require a setup, so you will already have to have one of these die, and then you just summon this one, get this one back, and then make an Exceed out of this one. Then this one goes to the yard, so then you summon this one the next turn, and as you can see here, this just keeps happening, right? This is a self-replenishment engine. It just continuously, it allows you a steady stream of cards, and alongside of the Prime Monarch, you will always have access to a rank 5, right? As long as you have a loaded graveyard. Now, what if we threw Blue Layer into the mix? What the hell does that do? So why play the Teleport Blue Layer engine? Now, if you teleport this guy out, this guy is just straight up Stratos. It allows you to tutor a Super Quant card from your deck to the hand. So you can now search your red layer. So now that's already a dead even. Your teleport got you a card on the field, which then gets you this. So that's just a straight up dead even. You didn't lose any cards for doing that. Now, if you got Return of the Monarch, you can tribute this guy and whatnot like that. Basically, you do want this guy off the board because he'll get banished at the end of the turn. But when he also has another effect, that when he goes to the graveyard, you can target 3 Super Quant cards and shuffle them back into your deck. Or up to 3, rather. And it's very key that he says up to, because now this guy is always a tribute card. And that's why you play 2 teleports in one of this, because that makes this card live at any point in the game. But more importantly, when you let 2 of these guys die, and then you detach this guy for a material, and then special this guy back in defense, yes, his effects are negated, but if you tribute this, then he goes to the graveyard, and you now get to shuffle all 3 of these guys back into the deck, which then teleports, which then searches for this, which, as you can see, is a self-replenishment engine. Or, you have another option. When this guy right here, red layer, when this guy is summoned, you can just float this guy back to your hand and pitch it for like a Twin Twister, which then allows you to shuffle these back into your deck. You see, you always get cards out of these, and just adding this extra piece into this step creates like a soft loop. It just creates a more deep self-replenishment engine that keeps putting these back into your deck and keep allowing you to teleport them out and just for Monarchs and have free tribute fodder and or make your Return of the Monarchs live. That gives you a lot of play. That gives you a lot of game in your deck, allowing you to search for like cards like Mega Thestalos to hit cards out of their hand, or Erebus or Aether or whatnot like that, to have plays on their turn or just whatever. That's a lot of game. So that's the reason why you would even consider playing the blue layer in your deck. I'm not 100% set on this. You can always cut this card and cut the teleports and just add more techie cards in, or add floodgate cards in, or whatnot like that. Whatever floats your boat, man. You can do that just by cutting the blue layer. It does change the surface of your deck, so you will want to make some adjustments here and everywhere. But I've been liking it, so I've not cut it. Now, since this video is going to be a little short, I've also added in something else to the video. As you guys saw from my last video, it was a little haphazard, so I decided to do some setup this time. I'm going to ruin the surprise here. This is stacked right now. I'm cheating. But basically, we have a little bit of etiquette to talk about here. There's something I see done incorrectly a lot, and this is very, very, very simple, but sometimes you do have to, simplicity is key. You have to point that out sometimes. And the main thing that I wanted to point out was, what the hell do you do to set up to have the most optimal going first turn one for Monarchs? Now, disclaimer, that's impossible, as this is a deck based upon a little bit of luck. So you'll have to change your, no two hands will be the same, essentially. I mean, they might do the same thing or achieve the same goal, but there'll be a lot of different cards that you can draw that'll add in what's called variance. And variance is a big deal, because that's the difference between OTKing or FTKing your opponent, or bricking and having a horrible time. So either A, you're going to have a bad time, or B, you're going to kill your opponent. But what happens when you get into scenario C? Well, I'm going to explain that a little bit. So let's say you went for like a standard turn one and you had like an Aether play. So you summon your Aether. Well, there's a very specific lineup of spells and traps that you should be sending first. Right? This is just guaranteed. You should always do this first, no matter what, almost. I'd say about 90% of the time. You're going to want to send these two guys to the graveyard, Pantheism and Prime. Now, if you're going to use your Pantheism that same turn, which why the hell wouldn't you? And let's say you're looking for a Monarch Stormforth because you're going to go get another Aether off your first Aether, which that's usually always should be your first go-round. You should get Aether with Aether so you can leave yourself available to break up a play that they're going to do if you have Cure in your deck or whatnot like that. Or it basically, always having an Aether gets you to your Erebuses or whatnot like that. So if you couldn't already summon your Erebus, or you already don't have one to tribute, just don't worry about that. Just always go Aether, get Aether, okay? Now, if you're going to banish this, there's one little step in between that you should pretty much always take, unless you are in a post-boarded game, or specifically the scenario doesn't call for it. You should search your tenacities first as a middle ground stair stepper, to then go get the card you were actually looking for. The reason for that is just specifically it adds in a free spell or trap card for Prime. So I don't really understand what's the downside to doing that. So since there's no downside, that comes at a very low opportunity cost. You should just always add that little step in the middle, because you get that's essentially a second free summon off your Prime. So just having access to that, or having the knowledge of just which order to resolve these effects in, or which order to do things in, just that's the difference between an upper echelon player and a not upper echelon player. I'm not going to say the words good and bad player, because that's really difficult to quantify, especially in a game where there's so much variance from the first 5 cards all the way down to just the dice roll. So that's just, one of my little hangups about the decks that I just see a lot of people doing, and I see a lot of people getting wrong from as early as turn 1, just which order to resolve things in, or which cards to even send to the graveyard, because it's a very difficult thing having access to your entire deck from turn 1. That's one of the most difficult ways to play the game, or one of the most difficult types of decks to play. So that's just, without getting too long-winded here, that's just something that's just like a little one hiccup play that I quite frequently see done incorrectly. So I just kind of wanted to myth bust it, if you will. So drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe, come on back for some more of the RTG Road to Greatness series from Ijo Yujo here. If you guys got any questions for me, please feel free, drop a comment. I'm more than willing to explain myself a little deeper or open up, to some new ideals or new ways of thinking. Hey, maybe you say, you're wrong, Guy Joe. This is the correct thing to do. And if I am, please point that out because I'm always looking for a way to progress and get better in the game. So it's been your boy, Ijo Ujo. Keep it wata, kicking my ninjas, and I'll see you later. Peace.